Okay. All right, we're good. Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for waiting for us. We are now moving to item number 14. Item 14 is 345 Danforth Road. And we have this application before us for minor variance to permit the redevelopment of lands for a proposed six-story self-storage building that's currently going through site plan application with the city. And we have before us 5 variances. We have with us Marius, the applicant from
Yes.
MHBC. Hi, Marius.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Marius.
Before my time starts ticking, can I ask for our presentation to be just put up?
Yes,
in case
please.
I need to refer to it?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Brian?
Perfect.
Was your presentation submitted with the application?
Our presentation was submitted by the deadline, I think at some point last week. It was actually on the AIC website.
There is a presentation in the package.
There was a planning applicant position, I think. Planning opinion? I think so.
Agenda.
It was a PowerPoint presentation, which was done in PDF.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's fine. We found it.
Okay, perfect. All right. So just in
Just
summary,
wait, Marius. Let Brian pull it up first.
sounds good.
Madam Chairman, before he starts, I believe there's 2 variances that no longer are required.
We will get that confirmation. Thank you. Marius, is there a change to the application?
There is no change in the application. No.
So we
I have
have,
variances number 2 and number 5 are not required.
huh?
No, number 2 and number 5 are required.
Which one are you? It's item number 14.
Yeah.
345 Danforth?
Yeah.
Correct.
Why do you say that, Anne?
There are 6 variances, and I believe we had a report saying that they had changed, the gross floor area was 0.8, whereas the requirement is 0.8. Whereas they were asking
I'm not sure I'm
for,
following you, Anne, because I'm looking at the public notice. There are 5 variances. We have a staff report from September 21st referring to those 5 variances.
If I could just jump in,
Sure.
I think the clarification might be that there was a revised public hearing notice that was issued for variances 2 and 5.
yes.
The original public hearing notice referred to the maximum GFA being permitted on a gross site area, but because of the land conveyance, it was then changed to the net site area. And I think that's where the difference is, but we do require those variances.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
So we're going by the revised notice, but it still includes the 5 variances, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All right, so the presentation is up. It's yours, Marius.
Okay, perfect. So just in summary, we've reviewed the City of Toronto staff report. We do not have any objections to that. We've been working over the last year with city planning staff to refine the project through the site plan application. Staff has now confirmed that there's no major issues. We could proceed with this minor variance application. There's just some minor details that we're finalizing. As part of the applications, there was transportation and parking studies that were submitted. Those have now been reviewed and accepted by the City Transportation Department. In our opinion, the proposal meets the 4 tests that are required under Section 45 of the Planning Act. If you go to page 3 of the presentation, it just basically shows that the site is surrounded by institutional uses, industrial uses, and commercial uses. And then if you go to page 5, which is the existing survey, that just shows what the existing building is. It's an existing self-storage facility, 1 to 2 stories, containing 4 buildings. So that's all going to be demolished. If I could then take you to page 6, which is the proposed site plan. So the proposal includes the construction of a 6-story building containing a self-storage facility. This use is currently permitted by the city official plan and by the former Scarborough zoning bylaw. It's an existing use that's on site, and it was existing before bylaw 569-2013 was approved. In terms of the gross floor area, we're proposing 8,215 square meters, which is about 1.69 floor space index. This provides intensification and more efficient use of the subject lands. In our opinion, there are no anticipated adverse impacts being created. And this GFA is in line with and less than other approvals through minor variants that have taken place for self-storage facilities in the city as well. The proposal includes a lot coverage of 29%. In terms of parking, there's 13 being proposed, mainly on the south side and some on the west side. In addition, although these don't count as parking spaces, there's 14 drive-up dedicated spaces, which are basically on the west side. You can see where all those black arrows are. So those would essentially be additional parking spaces. And then there's 2 loading spaces being proposed. And we also submitted, as I already mentioned, the transportation study, which was reviewed and accepted by the transportation department. And I think that's it. Unless committee wants me to walk through each of the 4 tests individually, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any preference, committee? Sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Marias. Just a question for sake of clarity. It's going to be a 6-story building, and you haven't mentioned the number of units there, if you mentioned that. But my main focus is on the variance number 3, variance number 4, which talk about the number of parking areas. And I have gone through your parking report, parking study, as well as the transportation department comments on that, which is quite elaborative and quite technical. But again, as I said, for sake of further clarity, I just want to know that the basis of your transportation study is a comparison with another location owned by the same owner, and the number of units there or the JFI there, several things are matching. So the base is another location, and based on that, the number of parking spots are considered to be sufficient, right? The 13 spaces as compared to minimum 49, which is 3 times higher than that. So just give me a comparable between these 2 locations. I just want to be more clear whether this basis of the transportation study is really valid, because I have some reservations on that. Thank you.
Correct. In regards to the transportation parking study, there was 2 methods that were used to determine what the forecasted parking demand was. The first one was using the IT Parking Generation Manual 5th edition. So it came out with a parking demand of 9 spaces. The other one relates to a parking survey for 25 Krause Road, which is actually the property is owned by the same owners, and very similar uses as well. And the parking demand for that was 10 spaces. So based on that, it's our opinion that the proposed 13 spaces plus the 14 drive-up dedicated spaces is more than sufficient.
Sorry, I was just asking about the comparable, like how valid these comparables are. Because, okay, if I say that these are 2 different locations, there is 2 different environments, there are 2 business requirements, there are 2 different traffic flows there. So how that justification is taken from there and put it on this new location 100%, that, okay, if that requirement is 20, if at that place the requirement is for 20 parking, over here, again, the parking requirement will not exceed more than 13 or 20. So what is the major point which make it valid that it should be exactly the copy of that location?
Just 1 second. I'll need to review the parking study. See, so the parking study says it's comparable as both properties are located in a mixed-use residential and commercial neighborhood. 25 Krause consists of self-storage facility with a total gross floor area of 8,578 square meters. Both properties are owned and operated by the proponent. The circuit surveys indicate that the peak parking demand for self-storage is 10 spaces. The observed peak includes vehicles parked in the designated parking spaces as well as those parked at the drive-up unit. And then they say applying the peak parking demand rate of this facility to the proposed development is required. As the development proposed 13 spaces, the parking supply is sufficient. So that's what I'm getting out of this parking study here.
25 Cruise Road, that is somewhere on Birchmont Road, right? Birchmont and Eglinton could be?
Correct.
All right, that's
It's
the
Provincetown,
intersection.
just north of Lawrence.
Yeah, the surrounding of that area is like it's warehouses, it's storages, industrial units. But the Danforth, where you are located now, is an area of there are residential communities there, right? A lot of townhouses are there. Semi-detached homes are there. The business nature of business and the nature, and I'm worried about that. The occupancy rate will be much higher at this new place, if not today, but maybe in 1 year time. So, do you have a backup plan for in any circumstances, if the parking are required more than 13, is there any backup plan for that?
That's a good question. At this point, I don't think we've considered it. We have been through the site plan process. The transportation department hasn't mentioned any of those concerns. So at this point, we don't have any backup plan, but there are street parking spaces available.
If I may just jump in, Mohammed, what's the backup parking for? Why do you think a backup parking is required for this facility? This facility has been compared to a similar facility elsewhere. This facility will be providing its own parking, whether less or high, or whether deficient or not deficient. Regardless, that's a different subject, but this facility would be providing parking for its own use. Why are we concerned with a busy area where that's not the expectation that this parking area will provide for other businesses in the area, correct? It's for this particular use only.
Yeah, Madam Chair, you are right. As far as this particular area and GFA and use and business is concerned, the parking spaces are quite sufficient, which is acknowledged both by the Transportation Study and Transportation Department, which is quite fair. I just wanted to have a further clarity on that, because this development is going to be very close to the residential areas and all that. So at some point of time, if they don't have a backup plan, the number of cars or the flow can create a congestion or traffic issues for the surrounding areas, especially when the community is living
So
there.
what you're saying is that the deficiency on this for this facility, deficiency of parking for this facility may impact the adjacent residential areas.
In future.
So here's my point. This application has been, or this development has been going through site plan control for the last year or over a year. And through that process, the transportation memo has been reviewed by transportation engineers in the city, and they have not raised any concerns with it. I just want to draw your attention to that fact.
100% agree to that. I have the studies okay, the stats are okay, and they have done a thorough work on that. I do agree on that. I was just asking that if they have the plan, and if they have a plan, a backup plan, any organization could have a backup plan for the days in the future. So if they have any, that's good. If they don't have, they maybe think on that.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your comment. Member Macaulay?
Through you to the applicant, I don't know on this facility, but on some of the storage facilities, the security is such that the facility is not readily available to people, that the hours of operation are 9 to 5, and you have to enter by a gate that is held by the security person, so that the number of cars on site in other storage facilities really is very small at any one time. How does that compare to here? Has there been any consideration as to how many cars would be on site at any one time?
In response to that, there is a security gate being proposed, so that would limit the traffic flow inside as well. Yeah, I'm not sure on the exact details of the hours of operation as of yet, but they're most likely going to be what they are right now.
I think one of the pieces in the transportation memo speak to that, is the number of parking spaces, number of parking used at any one time. The peak demand, I'm just reading off the excerpt from this, it says, as outlined in the transportation study, the surrogate surveys indicate that the peak parking demand for the self-storage at 25 Krause Road is 10 spaces, and this is the peak parking demand.
Yeah.
So at any peak time, there's only 10 spaces that were being occupied. And so that's sort of their conclusion. Okay, so in terms of the proxy site, to your question, Mohammed, and I'm not a transportation expert, but I'm just reading off this, the proxy site or the surrogate site that has been chosen is similar in character to the proposed, the one that we're looking at. In the transportation engineer's opinion, those are comparable sites, and that's where they're drawing the conclusions from. Okay, all right. Any further questions for Marius on any particular variants at this time? So just to confirm, variance 3 is the new bylaw and variance 4 is the older bylaw, correct? The old Scarborough bylaw or is some another bylaw?
That's correct. Variance 3 relates to the new
Okay.
zoning bylaw, and 4 to the Scarborough one.
Okay, thank you, Marius. Any other question for Marius? Okay, you may want to think about it. We have someone else in the waiting, Wei Wang. Maybe we give an opportunity to Wei to speak, and then if you have further questions, we can reserve it for later. So we have Wei Wang.
Yes.
Hi, Wei.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, just one question. Hi, everybody. Hi. Just one question, quick question. So this is a storage facility, right?
This is a self-storage warehouse, correct?
Okay, which means dealing a lot of business with trucking transportation, right?
I think it's a different, so this is a self-storage facility. You know how, I guess, can you explain? Someone can explain.
Through the chair, maybe if in probably 30 seconds or less, if the applicant wants to explain what a self-storage facility is.
Okay, I think that's a better idea. So Marius, can you please jump in and explain what this service, what the self-storage facility is?
Yeah, it would be a self-storage facility for mainly residents and small businesses within the area. There wouldn't be much truck flow anticipated. We do meet the loading requirements of the city zoning bylaw. We're not seeking any variances related to that. And that's a quick summary of it.
Okay, thank you, Marius. You heard the response. Do you need any further clarification?
Yeah, it's dealing with a truckload, right?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Dealing with a truck.
So there could be trucks coming in. I can't comment on the size. So maybe the applicant can advise it better? Yeah. Marius?
In regards to the truckload, I mean, most of the time people will be coming with their personal vehicles. There's very seldomly that there will be any big trucks coming in, and if, in terms of the loading requirements, we do meet those in the zoning bylaw.
Okay,
Just worry about at the late night there will be truck coming and making the noise. That's the point.
Marius?
Yeah, in regards to late night, there would be hours of operation for this facility as well. They would have to meet any zoning, noise, any sort of bylaws that the city has in place in regards to that. So they would need to ensure that they comply with those, especially the noise bylaw.
Okay. Just asking.
Okay. Is there anything else, Wei?
I'm okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Marius, back to you. Before we do, members of the committee, any further questions for Marius or? discussion? If there are no further questions, Marius, is there anything else you would like to add before we go into committee?
No, I think that would be it.
Okay.
Thank you for the consideration.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, if there are no further questions or thoughts for Marius, then we go into committee.
I'm just trying to locate it. I thought there's a staff report, right?
You're right, there is a staff report. It's in the supplementary materials.
Oh, okay, that's where it is. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's okay. And there's two reports, so there's a revised community planning report. And Marius, you are aware of the staff report. I don't think there was any conditions. No, there are no conditions.
Correct, there's no conditions. We are aware of it, yes.
Through the chair, just to let the committee know, this is going through site plan. There's an active site plan application on this property. Most of the issues that have been discussed here relating to parking and transportation have already been addressed.
Okay, thank you. And this has been explicitly mentioned in the report from community planning.
It's also been indicated in the engineering comments that are also attached to the AIC. For site plan applications, engineering services comments include consolidated comments from not only engineering, but also from transportation services, Toronto Water, and Toronto Fire.
Okay, thank you very much. So the experts have looked into this application already. Members of the committee, we need to proceed. Shall we take the matter into consideration? I take that as a yes. All right, so now the matter is in committee. You want to make a comment, or do you want to proceed with a motion? Mohammed? I didn't hear any.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of these minor variance applications that are before us this afternoon.
Madam Chair, I'll second that.
Through the chair, is it are there any conditions that need to be added on this?
No, we checked.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
No. No forestry, no, nothing in community planning. So there's a motion on the floor to approve the application. There are no conditions. We have a seconder, Member Macaulay. All in favor of this motion? Motion carries. The application has been approved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We now move to item number 15. Item number 15 is 16 Blanche Avenue. It's a minor variance application we have before us for construction of a new two-story detached dwelling, and we have 7 variances on this application. We have Patrick McAuliffe. Patrick, are you online with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Members of the committee, would you like to have a presentation from Patrick, or do you have any questions for Patrick at this time? Okay. 16 Blanche Avenue, no questions? Okay. Patrick, do you have any comments to make before, or would you like us to proceed with hearing the residents?
I think hear from the residents first, and then I'll have my response, and then it'll be up to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we now move to our first party here, Linda Frasca. Linda, are you online?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm online.
excellent.
Hi, committee. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Linda Frasca, and I live at 14 Blanche, right next to the proposed 2-story building. My family's lived here for about 50 years, so we're kind of set here. No one's going anywhere. I'm just concerned about the sheer size of what is essentially a mansion. The 7 minor variances combined are a major concern because each one exceeds what's permitted. In particular, how close it is to my house. I believe that's variance number 7, the double garage in the drawing, and variance number 4, the length. My family, my young children will be looking at a huge brick wall lack of sun, lack of air, and particularly the lack of room in between the houses. If God forbid the fire department needed access to the room located there, are huge concerns for my family's well-being. There's also, lack of privacy and its negative impact on our outdoor enjoyment. Again, just the sheer size. The street is only 10 one-story houses. So what will a house of this magnitude do to the neighborhood, to our community? It's just, I feel it's too much for such a small area in such a small street. I had neighbors here who also submitted an email expressing their concerns, but they had to go to work. And just, it's a lot. I understand that times are changing, but it is just a lot for such a small space. So thank you for letting me speak, and thank you for your time. I know it's been a long day.
No problem, Linda. Thank you for taking the time to stay with us all day and speaking with us. So as I gather, your concerns are predominantly the overall development and not in particular a variance, but just generally overall development.
I was focusing in particular, overall, yes, but I guess number 4, the length of the proposed house, which is 20 meters versus, I guess, the maximum of 17, and then variance number 7, just the eaves troughs, the slot line, it's, again, going by the picture that we're looking at, it is so close to my house.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, no, thank you very much. And we'll have Patrick explain to us and respond to your concerns. No problem. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So any questions for Linda at this time? No? Okay. Thank you, Linda. We move to Tom Kapsis. Tom, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
All right.
My
So,
name is Tom. Yeah, my name is Tom Kapsis. I'm from the 18 Blanche Avenue. Is the property just besides the 16 Blanche. Actually, what I've done is, in reference to the application, I have submitted a letter dated on the 16th of September and raised my concerns in a little bit more detail. My concerns represent exactly the same concern most of the neighbors have, but due to the demographics and due to the age group of my neighbors and the lack of knowledge of the laws and the language barriers and the access to the computers and the use of them and everything, they never participate. The above process severely limits the ability of the interested people to participate in any decisions made, and any decisions made would be reflect the attitude of the surrounding neighbor. Now, I consider the application as misleading, incorrect, and incomplete. I don't consider this application minor variances because of quite few things. One is that the size of the house, most of the houses are approximately 1,000 to 1,500 square feet. And this house is approximately, according to the application, approximately 5,000 square feet. So it doesn't fit in the neighborhood. The other thing is that the house itself has 6 bathrooms, 4 pieces. That means 4 bathrooms upstairs on the 4 bedrooms, 1 in the main one and 1 in the basement. And having 4 basement entrances in the deck size, which is twice as big on one of the variances, it looks like the house by itself is not as a single family house. On the application, it says that why it is not possible with the variances, and it says family needs a bigger house. The fact that the family needs a bigger house, it's questionable because the family never lived there the last 3-4 years. So the house has been rented and is considered as a rooming house with multiple tenants living upstairs and downstairs. And the fact that it's a single family house and we needed a bigger house is questionable. On the application also, there is a line that says existing use. That line is not filled up. And also the proposed use, that line is not filled up on the application either. The size of the house, the architectural drawings, the arrangement the way it is, and having a two-story house, 5,000 square feet on a neighborhood of 1 to 1,500 bungalow houses in the neighborhood, it doesn't fit the neighborhood. Actually, the property as of now, or the last 3-4 years, is been used as a rooming house, and quite few of the neighbors had complaints about that. Also, the allowed provisions, without even the variances, do not suit the streetscape. Now, that's why we are concerned about it. Now, another concern is that approving the variances is different, to my understanding, of approving the drawings. Past experience shows that current applications indicate what the applicant will maximize the variances with new architectural drawings. I have the feeling that a house like that, it doesn't fit the neighborhood. All of the variances, I am opposed to all of the variances, and that's based on the credibility and the intention of the use of property. I have the feeling that the property is going to be used as a rooming house. And to my understanding, it should be, the application should be considered a rezoning area used as a house, not as a.
Hello?
Hello?
There seems to be some kind of disruption.
It was fine until a
Okay,
couple of seconds.
oh, okay. Now I'm Tom's son. I'm just gonna just clarify a few of the things that he mentioned on his behalf, and I have his approval to do so.
Thank you, Chairman.
So basically, in summary, it's clear that the current use of the property is as a multifamily rental income property. And so it's reasonable to assume that the future or intended use of the owner is also as a multifamily rental
Okay.
income property.
You need to start wrapping up. I'm sorry, the time's up for Tom to speak, so you may want to wrap up.
I'll be about 10 seconds more.
Okay.
So it's reasonable to assume that the future intended use of the owner is also as a multi-family rental income property. Only the property now, instead of being 1,200 square feet, it will be 5,000 square feet, which does not fit the neighborhood. Is it possible for the committee to direct the owner or his agent to the proper resources, which would provide him with the information on how he can properly rezone his property for the intended use? Applying for a minor variance with a misleading application does not seem appropriate or ethical.
Okay.
If the committee sees a more appropriate route for building a multi-unit rental income property on a single-family residential street, please advise the owner or his agent.
So
Thank
I'm
you
going,
so much
okay,
for your time.
thank you very much for your comments. I will request staff to comment on the proper route.
Through the chair, this application did go through a zoning review by Toronto Buildings. Toronto Buildings has confirmed this is for a detached dwelling, and that is what is before the committee.
Okay, and would you mind commenting on the question or the comment that has been suggested that this should go through a rezoning and not through minor variance?
This, the committee, again, is required to review the application that is before them today. Whether it is a rezoning or whether, and really the four tests talk about, and really that's all you're looking at, does it meet the four tests of the Planning Act? Is it minor in nature? It's appropriate. Does it allow appropriate development? Does it meet the intent of the zoning bylaw? Does it meet the intent of the official plan? If it meets the four tests, then you can approve it or approve it with conditions.
Okay, thank you, Colin, for that. So I think Colin explained it quite well. We run the four tests of the minor variance application. If it meets the test, then the decision is made accordingly. If it does not meet the test, the decision is again made accordingly. Having said that, I will just confirm with committee members, any questions for the applicant at this time? No, not the applicant, sorry, the residents. Okay, none. So I'm going to go back to Patrick now. Patrick, you heard the concerns of the residents. There were concerns about this being changed to a rooming house, and then the fact that it's overdevelopment. In particular, Linda mentioned her concerns with variance number 4, and I think it was 6? No, not 6. 7, 4 and 7. Thank you, Gary. 4 and 7. So I guess you've taken notes as well, so please proceed with responding.
Yep. Okay. First off, this is a single-family dwelling, and that's all it will ever be, is a single-family dwelling. Second off, I did read the staff report, and I did read the letters that were sent in as well. And as a result of that, I wish to make some changes to the issues that are before you. Okay, and I'll go point by point. Okay. Point number 1, I would like to reduce that to 36.0.
So variance number 1 being modified to 36.0,
Right.
36%, okay.
Yep. Point number 2, which is supposed to read the west side. Okay, this is corrected by the planning report as well. This should be the west side. Okay, we will change that to 0.6 instead of 0.3.
So it is the west side.
This is the side that's closest to the lady that was complaining about the house being too close.
Okay, so the
So
variance.
now this
Go ahead.
Now, this house will be just about as far away from its property line as her house is from her property line.
Okay, and how much is what's the number?
0.6 instead of 0.3.
Okay, so variance number 2 is being modified to 0.6.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Item number 3, we will eliminate completely.
Oh, the height of the bill, okay.
Yes, we'll eliminate that.
So item number 3 is variance number 3 is being withdrawn.
Yes.
Okay.
Item number 4, I'd like to leave the way it is, but I'd like to point out that the second floor is 17.8 meters and the first floor is the 20 meters.
Okay, so at grade it is 17.8, okay.
At grade, it's 20.
Oh, sorry, at grade it's 20.
Yeah, second floor is 17.8.
Okay, what about other variances?
Okay, number 5 stays the same because that hasn't changed anything. Number 6, which is the platform above the balcony, we will reduce that to 4 square meters, so that can now be eliminated.
Okay, so you are eliminating variance number 6?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Number 7?
Item number 7, because we've now moved the side wall setback to 0.6, we can now have a proper roof with eaves trough, so that item can now be eliminated.
Okay, I'm going to repeat. Item number 1 has been revised to 36% proposed lot coverage. Item number 2 has been revised to proposed west side yard setback to 0.6.
Correct.
Item variance number 3 has been withdrawn.
Correct.
Variance number 4 remains the same.
Correct.
Variance number 5 remains the same.
Correct.
Variance number 6 has been withdrawn.
Correct.
Variance number 7 has been withdrawn.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and there are no other variances required. The height of the building is now going to comply with the zoning. 2 stories are permitted. It's a 2-story dwelling. Okay,
Correct.
okay. Committee members, any questions for Patrick?
Yes, Patrick, so I just wanted to confirm, it's said to be a proposed house of 5,000 square feet, is that correct?
No, it's not. It's about, including the garage, it's about 3,900 square feet.
All right, there's also mention in correspondence of 6 bathrooms. I think when I looked through the plans, I counted 5. Is that correct, that there were proposed 5 bathrooms in this proposed house?
There's 1 bathroom for every bedroom on the second floor. There's a bathroom on the first floor and a bathroom in the basement.
All right, thank you, that's all I.
Okay.
Member Macaulay?
You have provided us with floor plans here, and there's a concern with number of people in this house. It's only 4 bedrooms. You're not showing any bedrooms in the basement. Would you be willing to have this approval generally based on the floor plans for the basement, first floor, and second floor?
Sorry, the question, sorry?
You have provided us with interior design. And basically, what you're showing is a 4-bedroom house on the second floor, no bedrooms on the first floor, and no bedrooms in the basement. The concern is that this may change and have a number of people inhabiting it, obviously a number of bedrooms. One of the easiest...
It will legally...
Okay, one of the easiest ways of addressing that concern is if you agree that the plans that you're showing us are generally in conformity with what you are proposing to build.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if any changes ever come, it would be through a building permit.
All right. And I'm going to say generally, because I know that you've made some slight changes, so the dimensions will change a little.
Yeah.
Okay.
Through the chair, I don't believe the committee does have the authority to approve floor plans.
Even when he agrees?
I'm sorry?
Even when he agrees?
I can't hear what you're saying.
Even when the applicant agrees?
It sets a precedent. Like, I'm not sure what is being accomplished through that, but I don't think that I don't think you have the authority to do that.
And if I can, just from my experience, I don't think we have the jurisdiction to go and approve floor plans.
All right. I understand we've got floor plans. They're here for information purposes only. They're not here for our approval. And I will be corrected that we're not tying this guy to these floor plans. So it was an easy way of providing some comfort to the community of what to expect. But I'll withdraw my request.
Through the chair, again, really as I mentioned in the zoning review does clearly indicate that this is for a detached dwelling. And if they did decide to change, if that did change, that would be a municipal bylaw enforcement issue.
Correct, and thank you for bringing that up. I think I've heard it a couple of times in Tom's comments that he suspects that it'll be a rooming house, and at that point, I would say that should that happen at any point, Tom, if you're listening, feel free to call the city and complain if you feel that it's turned into a rooming house. There are regulations and requirements of rooming house and permissions that need to be taken. And if someone operates a rooming house without the right permissions or zoning in place, then the necessary actions can be taken at the time. So that's something that It could be, it may be, and that's not something that we're looking at today. What's before us is a single detached dwelling. In terms of the number of bedrooms and bathrooms, that's the client's preference to have a detached, an attached bath with every bedroom. That's their prerogative. They're exercising their right to do so. That doesn't mean that it by any means suggests that it's a multi-family house. There are multiple families living in. Again, in this day and age, we know that the concept of family is also different. Multiple people, multiple different members of the family can live together as a family. So let's not get into that. I think what we have to look at is the variances that have been modified today, that's being presented to us, and run the 4 tests of the Planning Act, which are these minor in nature? Do these meet the intent of the zoning bylaw? Do these meet the intent of the official plan? Are they desirable? Comments?
Well, Madam Chair, I think that the proposed changes that we've heard this afternoon, I think they take care of or meet the comments in the staff planning report relating to side yards. There was also like a question of the eaves, et cetera. So,
Okay.
so I think those changes the changes made are more appropriate.
Okay, and just point of
And Madam
reference.
Chair, there are urban forestry conditions are there as well.
Thank you for looking out for this. Just a quick question, clarification. Community planning report suggests that the 3 meters, which was initially proposed, is only for the garage. Now with the revision to 0.6 meters, is it still only applicable to the garage, or is it for the rest of the building?
Sorry?
The modified variance for the side yard setback to 0.6, is it only applicable to the garage or the rest of the building?
No, the rest of the building is 4 feet. It's 1.2 meters.
Which meets the zoning regulation. Okay, so thank you very much, Patrick, for confirming. So maybe there's some merit in attaching the plans so that the 0.6 setback is only for the garage. The committee may want to consider that. Except that the plan will have to be modified to reflect the change.
So the committee could tie it to the site plan as amended to address the revised requested variances.
Perfect.
So the intent is right. That is very clear.
Okay, thank you. So committee members, if there are no further questions for Patrick, may I please take this matter into committee and make a decision on it? Looking for a motion now.
Well, Madam Chair, I'll move that we approve the variances as amended and considered this afternoon, but add conditions that be subject. Yeah, sorry, that the approval be tied to the site plan, which is currently before the city, and also that there be a condition relating to, of course, to urban forestry report and conditions that it requires. So maybe just in summary, again, we'll move approval as amended, tied to site plan and conditions of urban forestry to be observed.
Okay, may I have a seconder, please?
Madam Chair, I will second the motion for approval of this application, subject to the all condition mentioned in the motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of this motion? All opposed?
Before we make the decision, on the planning department wants this tied to the site plan, but we've got the wrong numbers in here. So if you make a friendly amendment that it's tied to the site plan, but deleting the exact measurements may be sufficient.
Or maybe tied to the site plan that would be revised to reflect the variances as approved as it relates to the side yard setback.
Something to that effect.
Okay, I think you had.
Or what it could, or the other option, a cleaner option could be that because I think it's really the setback as it applies to the garage. So you could indicate, instead of tying it to plans, that that the setback applies to the
garage only.
garage only.
And you know what, I think I agree with that because if you look at it, there are other modifications to the variances that may require change to the site plan in general. So I would say if we can consider including that the requested 0.6 meter side yard setback be applied to the garage only. Gary?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I just didn't follow part of that, but it sounds as if we're making a further modification so that the performance standards will show on the appropriate plans.
Correct. So basically, your motion was absolutely correct, except that the condition that instead of tying it to a plan, we say that the variance that's modified for the side yard setback be applicable to the garage only.
Through the chair, variant, and for further specificity, it's variance number 2.
Okay, variance number 2. Variance number 2 be applicable to the garage only.
All right, well, I'll add to my approval then that variance number 2 be applicable to the garage only on this site.
Thank you, Gary. Seconder, Mohammed, you were seconded.
Madam Chair, I second the motion for approval as the condition mentioned there.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? Motion carries. Patrick, your application has been approved as modified and subject to the conditions as mentioned right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Okay. Next item number 16. Item number 16 is 70 Van Brew Avenue. This is a minor variance application for one variance, and it's to seek relief from the zoning bylaws for a 2-story dwelling currently under construction. Peter, are you with us?
I am.
Okay. And I think Member Macaulay, if I remember, had a question. She wanted some explanation. Can you please switch on your mic? And your mic.
You've asked for you've suggested that you need an increased floor area of 0.52 times versus 0.5. My question is, where did the change occur? And can you show us on the drawings that you have submitted what has changed?
Yeah, if you go to, if you pull up the ground floor first, if Brian or whoever is behind the computer there, pull up the page 5 of 13 of the plans document. Yeah, that one there. You see the clouded area at the rear. On the permit, we had a rear walk-up, a staircase there with a foundation already approved. And if you go to the next floor, please. The prayer room that's below the ensuite was only 7 feet big, and during construction, the client wanted to expand the prayer room, so we took the ensuite and just extended it to the edge of that staircase, which allowed for 2 things. It allowed for some kind of a quasi roof now over the staircase that he was worried about potential snow and ice buildup because it was so exposed. So it provided now a little bit of a shelter. It provided a roof above those staircases, and it allowed his prayer room now to be a more functional size at 11 feet deep. This house, we built it with no variances. So these are the only variances. This is not the second time we're coming. The original house was designed and permit received with no variances. So this is the only variance we're requesting for this entire project, is to permit this extension of the bathroom over that existing staircase. So the original permit did have the foundation extended out there. We just took the second floor and extended it out to where that existing foundation was. So this was done on the site. and the inspectors just noted, just get the revision for it. They've actually inspected it and they're ready for final occupancy. Everything's closed up. I had a chance to speak to my client. Everything has passed with all the inspectors. They just won't give occupancy until we get this approved at the committee. So it was a site condition. They didn't realize it was going to require a variance, but it did. And that's why we're here today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And if you continue to build without having to come back for any variances, good luck.
Oh, no, I
I'll
understand.
recommend approval of this application.
Sorry, you put a.
I'll recommend approval of this application.
Okay, have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second that approval, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion's carried, Peter. The application's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, last but not the least, I hope. Martin's, is the agent. This is the application 3655 Kingston Road. It's item number 20. So item number 20.
Okay, I think I got it on. Okay. But I mean, let's talk to him. He knows more about it. He's working way more.
Mute him. Okay, so we have item 20, 3655 Kingston Road. The application is for a minor variance application. The agent is Martin, who has been registered to speak with us. It's to permit additional variances for a 9-story apartment building consisting of 106 dwelling units. Martin, are you with us?
I'm here, but I'm having some muting issues. Can you hear me okay now?
We can hear you now. Okay, Martin.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, so
Thank you
just
for
before you proceed, I want to ask the members of the committee, would you like to have a presentation, or do you have any questions for Martin?
Well,
Just wait, Martin. Okay. No? Okay. Martin, please go ahead. Do you want to say something?
I prepared some commentary about the application. I'd like to run through that if it'd be helpful for the committee.
Okay, so sure, go ahead. You have 3 minutes to present your presentation.
Thank you, members of the committee. My name is Martin Quarkapome, and I'm an associate and professional land planner with Weston Consulting. I'm here on behalf of 1416958 Ontario Inc., sometimes referred to as Hazelton Development. Hazelton has submitted an application for minor variance to address minor changes in the development of this proposed 9-story apartment building at 3655 Kingston Road. In support of this application, I prepared a detailed planning rationale letter that outlines the requested variances and provides a detailed summary of the floor tests that are provided under Section 45(1) of the Planning Act. I will note up front that this building is under construction and nearly complete, and there are only 2 units left that are available to purchase. As a bit of background, I, together with our solicitor, were before this committee early last year to address some technical issues that we found with the zoning laws that were approved by Council in 2017. Through the building permit process, they identified some issues with the way a couple of the standards were calculated. To correct that, we had to submit an application to the committee to address items like floor space index, coverage, and gross floor area. As part of that request last year, which was approved by this committee, no changes to the building were made from the approval of council previous. The building, the number of units, the GFA that was part of the approved drawings did not change. It was strictly a technical variance to address the development standards in the bylaw that were calculated incorrectly at the time. That application, as I mentioned, was supported by council as we needed their permission to submit the application. It was within that 2-year blackout period for the Planning Act, and of course was approved by the committee at that time. The variances before the committee are very similar, as they do not contemplate any changes to the building size, the envelope, or exterior design. The variances will not in any way impact or the design of the internal space or the public realm outside the building. And most importantly, it won't create any new issues with neighboring lands around the property. So to get to the variance requested, we're first requesting an increase in the permitted units from 99 to 106, which represents an increase of 7%. And we're asking for a very slight reduction in vertical clearance height for 2 of the 132 parking spaces on the second below grade parking level. This came up through a inspection that the developer had during the summer. And there are 2 spaces, again, on that second level that require this reduction from 2 meters down to 1.98 meters. So we're talking about a 2 centimeter issue here with those only 2 spaces. In terms of the rationale, I can provide you with some direction on how we got to where we are today. The issue of the parking, can you hear me okay?
Martin, your time's up. I would suggest that you start wrapping up.
Oh, of course. Sorry, I didn't realize it had so much time left. So I think what I'll note here is that the changes being made here are to address economic changes that my client has experienced in the last several months. We understand that this was should have been taken care of prior to the this application in terms of selling these units. But based on feedback that they've received from the public, smaller units are more desirable and are the type of space that the individuals in the community prefer to live in. So I don't have time to go through the 4 tests exactly in terms of my rationale, but my justification letter that I provided as part of this application goes into that much detail.
Yes.
So I'll leave it at that, and I'm here to answer questions if required.
Thank you. No, so thank you for that. Yes, we have read your cover letter, your planning justification report. And if there's any question from the committee members, we will certainly ask you. Members of the committee, any questions? Sure. Mohammed, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Martin, just a very quick question. I'm talking about variance number 1, adding of 7 units. Your application says that there will be addition of 7 units, but simultaneously it's talking about there will be no effect on the parking or the amenity spaces or function or design of the building, right? So I just want to have a further elaboration on that. On one hand, you are adding these 7 units, but how it is not going to impact on the amenity spaces, parking spaces, common areas, and all that?
That's a great question. So what we're doing is splitting 7 of the larger 2-bedroom units into 1-bedroom units for an increase of that additional 7. The zoning bylaws that have been crafted through the approval of this development sets overall numbers for parking spaces, amenity space, as well as bike parking. So the no requirements or whether variances are required to address those items in the bylaw. What was approved in 2017 is what is being provided as part of, what it has been constructed as part of this project. But I think what would also be helpful to understand is I've done a bit of the math here, and if we kept those units, which are the 7 2-bedroom units, which would typically house, say, 2 to 4 people, you're looking at a population of 14 to 28 people if we keep things as is. If we have these additional 7 units and have a total of 14 new 1-bedroom units, which typically house 1 to 2 people, we're looking at a population of 14 to 28 people. So whether we're looking at 7 2-bedrooms or 14 1-bedrooms, the number of people remain approximately the same. So the draw on amenity space and parking or bike parking does not change. And there are about 5 or so parking spaces that have not been sold because of the demand.
Thank you, Martin. As you mentioned, these 7 units are not being sold. No, I'm not going to ask you for the reasons why they are not sold. Of course, it's not the jurisdiction. Maybe it could be any reasons for that. But still, it will help me to make a decision that why this variance is coming up. What could be the basics on that? But still, I think when a population or the occupants number increase from 14 to 25 people, it's going to have an impact over the parking, or if not the parking spots, but at least the amenities and the common areas or the function of the building. It's have the impact on that.
If I could note that there is no increase in the population. there would be a larger population with 2-bedroom units, and by removing those and replacing them with 1-bedroom units, the population remains the same.
And if I can just add, as far as I understand the zoning, I'm not an expert, but I'm just, from my experience, the parking requirements are based on number of units, and the amenity space is also based on the number of units. It's not on the population. Please.
Just for our information, you're changing from 99 dwelling units to 106. You're not having to make any changes to the parking provision. How many parking spaces are you providing?
There are 132 parking spaces provided.
132?
Correct.
Okay.
There's no parking variance though, right?
So the number of parking spaces is not one per unit, and the change in units doesn't make any difference. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, Transportation Services has reviewed this already. They are okay with the parking. They have provided comments to the committee on this in this regard.
Yes, we have a memo from Transportation Services dated September 11th, and they have no objection to variance number 2. Okay. So just in a nutshell, there is no parking variance before us. The zoning review was done by city staff, city building, because I don't see a waiver there. So we should be confident that the parking requirements have been met with the increase of the number of units, and as well as the amenity area space, as Mohammed, you had pointed out. Okay, so if you have other thoughts, hold on to it. We have 2 people registered to speak, so if you have further thoughts, we can come back to them. So let's go to Ron Hoekstra.
Hello.
Hello, Ron.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate, I know it's a long day for you, so I appreciate you letting me speak a little bit on the opposition here.
No problem.
Dear Madam Chair and Committee of Adjustment members, as a resident of South Scarborough Village, I would like to voice my opposition to 1416958 Ontario Inc.'s application for a minor variance at 3655 Kingston Road. The applicant's request to subdivide 7 units is hardly minor in nature. It's a major component of a development application. Imagine the kind of precedent the city would be setting for allowing for this change. More units is going to mean more traffic in our area, whether it be by residents, guests of residents, and courier deliveries. The community, which had already had over 1,000 signatures of opposition to this condo project, have had enough. As you know, the housing market is very hot right now. If the developer is unable to sell his 2-bedroom units, then they should lower the price like most other homeowners do. In my opinion, the developer overpriced his condo units. Case in point, the luxury condo across the street at 3231 Eglinton Avenue, the Guildwood Terrace, which have more amenities, has an average price of $300 per square foot for a 2-bedroom unit. The 3655 Kingston Road condo has an average price of $626 per square foot for a 2-bedroom unit. Both properties have lake views. It's obvious the developer either did not do their homework or they were too confident in their offering. The simple solution here is for the developer to drop their sale price of the 2-bedroom units to reflect the fair market value. Finally, it was noted in the cover letter that the chair and the committee should show some compassion to this first-time developer for not knowing they needed a permit to subdivide a unit into 2 units. How insulting to the chair and to the Committee of Adjustment members, not to mention our community, for them to make such a statement like that. Let me tell you a pattern of behavior by this developer that happened on this very property of 3655 Kingston Road. One, they erected a sales
Sorry,
pavilion.
Ron, I really appreciate your thoughts, but I really request you to focus on the application. We're not here to reflect on the developer's past or his trends or patterns. Let's just focus on the requested variances and let's speak to the four tasks of the Planning Act. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Chair and Committee of Adjustment members, I ask that you reject the request for a minor variance to divide the 7 two-bedroom units. Enough is enough. There is not a good enough reason that developers have provided to allow for this variance request. Thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you, Ron. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to make sure that we're fair to everyone and that we are focusing on the merits of the application. We're not here to reflect on, what developers do or don't do. So you have.
I just wanted to emphasize that this wasn't just a simple mistake by the developers, and I just wanted to clarify that with some examples.
Fair
But I
enough.
understand where you're coming from.
Okay, appreciate your understanding and consideration. So let's go, Ron has concerns with the number of units proposed, and he's explained that quite clearly. Now, let's move to Veronica Ferreira. Veronica?
Through the chair, this person is not logged in.
Oh, okay, all right. So Veronica has not logged in. I think we did a roll call this morning and she had not logged in too, right? Oh, she was there? Okay, she never came back. Okay, so Veronica, if you're listening, I believe you were logged in this morning, but we don't see you right now. So let's move into let's move to Martin. Martin, could you please respond to the concerns that were raised by Ron? And you have 3 minutes.
Sure. I believe the basis of his concern, if I heard correctly, is the number of units and the population or issues in traffic that would be put on his community. Now, I made some comments of the number of people that would be that these new units would generate, which would be no different than if they remained at the 7 two-bedroom units. And the number of delivery trucks or guests would remain the same. And I don't believe that adding these additional 7 units would change that. In terms of the affordability aspect, I cannot speak to that. In terms of whether he should price these units, my client should price units lower than where they already are. That's outside the scope of our land use planner, and I think it's outside the scope of this committee as well. And in terms of this being an error, it was an error. My client was trying to get this building constructed to meet his occupancy timelines and commitments he made to his purchasers. And again, this was an oversight on his side, and we're here to rectify that. So I understand that this should have been done before, but it's being done now. And I believe that the request that we're seeking does serve the community better by providing units and sizes that are more congruent with the demand of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Any questions for Martin? Any comments for Martin? No? Okay. Before we go into committee, we want to make sure that we've asked all the questions, because once we go into committee, we won't be able to come out.
Just a comment, Madam Chair. Regarding variance number 1, the number of units to be increased 6. This is my opinion. I believe that the 6% increase in the development or in developing these numbers, 6% increase, do not meet the criteria, the test criteria for the minor variance. This is a big variance, keeping in view this number.
Could you be a little louder, Mohammed? I just couldn't hear you. You have, the comment was that?
My comments was about the nature of variance, and I was just saying that the increase in number of unit is 6, which is 6%. To me, it's not a minor variance, and I will say don't meet the criteria, 4 test criteria.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Any other comment? Okay, if there is no further comment or question, can I please have a motion? And just for record, I think we have a councillor's letter.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, so we have a councillor's letter from Councillor Paul in opposition. And yeah, just wanted to say that for record. There's no urban forestry. We have a letter of support from David Turnbull. Okay. All right, sorry for interrupting. Please go ahead.
Madam Chairman, I recommend approval of this variance. The change from the addition of the number of units, I've just lost, no, the change from 99 units to 106 dwelling units. It would have a minor impact on the magnitude of this overall development. Parking is sufficient to carry it. I'm sure that by what they have said, the amenity space meets all the requirements for the living area. I recommend approval of this variance.
Thank you, Member Macaulay. Seconder, please. Second call, seconder, please. Okay, there is no seconder. The motion fails. May I have another motion, please?
Madam Chair, I will move the motion for refusal of this application.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please?
Madam Chair, I'll second that motion to refuse.
And all in favor of this motion? All opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. The application has been refused. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, everyone. This brings us to the end of our agenda. Any other item on the agenda? Any other business? None? Okay. We have received an LPAD appeal. That's for our, there's an LPAD appeal, right? It's just for information, looking at the agenda. Okay?
Yes, that's, yeah, our next meeting will be, of course, with the Scarborough matters. We're not getting into TUI matters until later, I think. Yeah.
No. Okay, all right, so we're good. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, staff, for everything.